Hey, what's up? We should be live. Let me know you can hear me well. Now, SC, you say you just found my channel via ChatGPT. I have to understand how. Did you actually ask for information on watercolor painting channels? Now I'm super curious. Let me see. The audio is okay. Yeah, we're good. We're good. That's amazing. So I have no idea how that happened actually, but thank you so much everyone for being here. I'm gonna read all your messages in a second. Quick introduction for today. What we're gonna do is we're gonna paint this thing right here. So I actually found a wonderful model for the human head. And we can actually play around with the angle of the model, like so, and with the angles of light and shadow. So what we're going to do is explore a bunch of these and especially notice how it applies to watercolor techniques. So we'll get to that in a second. First, I want to thank everyone who is here. Hey, Tonks, hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. Thank you, SC. Again, that's amazing you found my channel. Thanks to ChatGPT. Thank you, ChatGPT. I had no idea. It archived me in any way. Hey, Sungun, how are you doing? Frederick, yeah, I'd love to know that. I asked you to provide me a list of online tutorials and resources. Oh, that's amazing. This was first on the list? Wow, that's amazing. So I hope I can justify it. I actually have here, let me show you. I have a bunch of these sketches ready to paint. Now you can find these scan in the description. So you can actually download, trace, and then paint along with me. Okay, that's how we're gonna design our model to match these angles, and we'll shine the light in different directions. And I think it's gonna be really useful. You're gonna see, because the way watercolor works, right, with the flow and all of its unique characteristics, one of the big things is figuring out what the process is, right? There are multiple ways of doing the same thing, of course, but figuring out what the best process for a scenario for a given individual is a big part of it, and that's what I want to show you today. So how we translate that information onto effective washes, right? And then you can take it in whatever creative direction you want, but I'm showing you the thing that will make it easier. So wow, it's amazing that SC is here thanks to ChatGPT, and it's amazing that I was first on the list. That's incredible. AI indeed did good for once. Hey CJ, I hope you're doing well. Hey Sujanith, I hope you're doing well too. Hey Pam, good morning, coffee in hand and ready. You all want to check out the Facebook group, Follow Your Brush, where I did an interview with Pam just a short while ago, so you want to check that out. I think you have to be a member, right, in order to watch it. I mean, you can just join on Facebook, right? So yeah, hey Robin, how are you doing? I hope everything is going well. No Name Drafter, hello. Sungun, hello. Steve Mills, afternoon Liron. I might need to take the odd break today for making tea for the electricians who are connecting my art studio. That's amazing. By the way, Steve, talking about setup, I actually have a new setup today, everyone. You're gonna love this. So if I switch over to my live painting setup, you'll notice the audio changed a bit. I'm actually streaming. Let's go back here. I'm streaming from my camcorder, my Panasonic camcorder. I finally got my capture card. It's the Elgato Camlink. So now I don't have to move anything. I have this camera here, and then I have two cameras over there. One is the one I use just to record videos. I can now use it as a streaming camera, which is amazing. And yeah, I don't have to move anything, so great setup. Hey Jill, love that frog emoji. Hey John, hope you're doing well. Oh, by the way, I want to remind everyone, so I have an auction running. I actually have the link also in the description box for the painting we painted in the latest live stream. It's a nice opportunity to get a painting for a relatively good price. I'm already happy with the price it's at, so thank you so much to anyone who bid. Really do appreciate it. Maybe I'll see some of you here. Thank you so much. Check it out. First link in the description box. If you want to place a bid, you may win it for a decent price. Much lower than all the rest on the gallery, so be sure to check that out as well. Jacqueline, how are you doing? Going live today instead of replay. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for catching it live. Steve, who are connecting my garden art studios domain. Oh, okay, got it. Ghost Mains Girl, hi everyone. Hello yourself. Hey Joshua, how are you doing? It's your favorite watercolor paper. Indeed, how are you doing? My favorite watercolor paper. Steve, yes, I'll be christening. Is that a word? I didn't know. You can say christening the studio. Oh, that's cool. With some paintings. Hey Kathleen. Hey Mr. Red. Thank you for being here, Ambi. Hope you're doing well. Today's a free day. I have time to join. Oh, that's awesome. It looks like we're going to have some people here. It looks like the attendance is going to be good. Connie, hi from Pacific. NW, is that North? I'm sorry. I'm so bad. Noon. NW. You'll have to let me know in the chat. Sujanith, wow, congratulations for your new studio setup. Thank you. It's going to make life so much easier. So much easier. Steve, all these different cameras and angles, you're sounding like a film director. You'll be writing a graphic novel next. Yeah, I might. So you know I'm working on something, right? So yeah, let's go ahead and let's start with a front angle. So we're going to grab one of these. And the model's already set up for a front angle. And I'll be seeing your chat messages over there on my other computer. So we're at the front angle. Now the question is, what angle of lighting do we want? Now I think it would be interesting to maybe do an angle that is simple. So like left to right, something like that. So this is actually looking pretty good, right? Because now we can see the face is aimed towards us. There's light coming from that side, shadow on the left, and we're gonna see how the planes of the face how the shadow maps on them, right? So I'm going to switch over to the other table, and the audio is going to change, but it's still hopefully going to be decent. So let me do this. And okay, so hopefully you can hear me well. Let me know, because this is actually the first time I'm streaming like this. I'm actually going to zoom in a bit. And we'll use this one. I have a towel because I'm going to sweat today because of the painting. So yeah, I'm going to be waiting on your message letting me know the audio is good. And we'll see. Hopefully we won't have any technical issues. I'm actually going to go to my channel for a second, get into the live stream, listen to myself right now. Hear me well? Yeah, good. So now I'm not attached to the mic anymore. I don't need to move it and to be careful. This camera's audio is pretty good. Now, the one concern I have is auto turn off. Oh, thank you, Sujanith. Okay, great. That it will auto turn off. That's my only concern, and it may happen. So worst case, we'll lose the video, and then I'll see it, and I'll just fix it. It's not really a problem. So let me make sure I see both my reference and the chat. That way. There we go. Awesome. Thank you so much for letting me know, everyone. And I will see your messages in a second. So let me organize the reference the same way it's on my other computer. That's the tricky part. There we go. We're good. I'm gonna full screen it. And let's map out the shadows. So we're gonna start. So I'm gonna start with the leftmost because I want to make sure I don't paint over, what I'm doing. And I can probably zoom in more. Now, the technique on the palette isn't actually that important, funny enough. So it doesn't really matter, you see what's going on there, but I could like do this maybe, bring it a little closer, but it's not gonna be too complex. So don't worry about that too much. Now, pencil. And you should actually hear me now even when I move to the other side. Maybe not perfectly, but pretty decently. So let's follow the line of light and shadow. Now, because the way I painted this the way I sketched it, you can see the planes of the face. I followed the model, right? Because of that, we can actually map out the shadows very easily. So I'm gonna divide it into light and dark. Okay, so let's see where the shadow passes. It's up to interpretation. That's the thing to understand. Okay, it's pretty open to your interpretation. So, for example, this looks pretty light in the reference, right? And this looks a little darker, and this is a lot darker. So the question is, where does the shadow go? Is it here? Is it there? So I'm gonna decide that this is still not a shadow. So the shadow is gonna go over this area. Okay, and it's gonna come around here, and look at what happens. It cuts because of the angle of the keystone of that part between the eyes and the nose, and then it goes around the nose. And don't worry, we're gonna scratch on it. You'll see it. We're gonna do some cross hatching. It goes around here. Now look at what happens. The bottom of the nose is a little in the shadow as well. I'll extend it even down to here. I'm gonna put this this part in the shadow, but not the right part. So let me just do a bit of cross-hatching to make it clearer, okay? And then we're gonna jump back to here. We're gonna put some of that lip, probably all of that lip actually, in the shadow, because it's facing down, okay? It doesn't really matter, you can go either way, but I think it'll look good. And then we're gonna put half this lip in the shadow, and we're gonna put all of this plane that faces down in the shadow. Now, you may look at this and have a bit of trouble seeing the shapes. Don't worry, it's easier for me because I actually sketched it out based on the model. You may take some adjustments, but think about it not necessarily as following these polygon shapes. Think about it as an overall pattern, if you will. So the light goes from left to right. That's pretty much what we're focused on here, okay? And then I'm gonna cut the shadow here, and it's gonna go a little back and back down here, and let's do it half like that. So what we're gonna get, if I map it all out, is, let's start putting in the shadow. All of this is in the shadow. This is why I wanted to start with half-half, because it makes it a little easier, okay? Because we have now one big shape for the shadow. So this is pretty much what we got. So check it out, okay? Very simple. We have a light and a shadow. Now we also have shadow on the other side, also a little open for interpretation. So how are we gonna do this? First off, this side of the eye is definitely in the shadow. A bit of this is in the shadow. This is in the shadow. And I would probably extend it to put this in the shadow too, the part above the eye. You don't have to though, okay? This is in the shadow, something like, we'll get something like this. I don't want to be too literal with my shapes here. I want to keep it simple, okay? Aaron, the setup is amazing. It's so helpful to see that way. Awesome. Yeah, it's going to be so much easier for me too. Can't compare the two. Sounds good. It's good. Thank you so much. Jacqueline says, I struggle to paint people faces, but recently painted Princess Leia and it looked like her. That's amazing. I used to use gouache to fix her chin, but was pretty happy with it. Yeah, here's the thing to have in mind, you know, to get the likeness of a portrait is so hard. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. We're not even going to that level here, right? We're going to the level of where the light is, where the shadow is. So let's paint. This is pretty easy, almost like paint by numbers. We're basically gonna cover everything that is in the shadow, everything that is cross-hatched. So I'm gonna mix my mid value. I don't have to go too dark here. I'm using just neutral tint, nothing but neutral tint. The whole neutral tint, nothing but the neutral. And we're gonna mix. I need a not too large amount because this is a small shape, but something that will be enough, okay? Now, this is where some watercolor technique is relevant. So because we have this large shape, I am starting the wash knowing that I'll paint this whole thing in one go, and then I'll add this side, okay? So this is where it's important to know what you're gonna paint. That can really help to make sure you don't start to get worried in the middle of the process and you're not sure what to do, you know? It's okay to get worried. And some part of it is thinking on your feet, noticing what happens on paper, being a little spontaneous, dancing with the medium. But a big part of it is to actually be prepared. So let's do it. I've been stalling enough. All we really want to do, and we don't even care about edges necessarily. I'm gonna keep all of the edges sharp. We may introduce some soft edges in the next examples if I feel like it. Even though you could very easily, you could take another brush and kind of decide, you know what, that's a soft edge, you know, there's no reason not to. So let's say this here is a soft edge. Because it is a soft edge. You see this, the face is round, right? It's not really made of polygons. It's actually round. But we don't have to do that even. But if we already blended the edge, let's finish what we started. There we go. That's gonna be our only soft edge here. We don't need any more than that. I think the video quality should be better than with the webcam, so that makes me happy too. Now I'm gonna work top to bottom. Now the reason I'm working top to bottom is simply because of gravity. It's science, it's nature. The paint will move down at an angle. My table's at about 10-degree angle, so we're playing with that. It just makes life a little easier, right? You don't have to work this way, and you can grab the paper, rotate it around freely. You can do whatever you want. That's just one way of making the process of painting a smooth wash smooth. And also notice how wet my wash is, right? A lot of people, for larger shapes, they don't mix as much as I have, because I'm very aware of the fact that my water may run out. Now, this is the only place where I need to be a little more focused, because you'll notice this splits here. We have a bit of a highlight within the shadow, so to speak. But after that, it's back to smooth sailing. We'll get this diagonal shape here. And look at how easy it is almost to create a feeling of light and shadow. And even if you're not the best at drawing, you can certainly trace what I shared with you and simply follow the idea of patterns of light and shadow and map them out very carefully and then paint them, you know. Knowledge is very strong. I've once read that painting correctly is more important than painting or drawing beautifully, and I love that. That's actually a great insight. Now I'm gonna add a bit of a shadow under the chin. I want to show that separation, even though I didn't put it there initially. I love that differentiation between painting correctly and painting beautifully. And sometimes you can paint something that looks amazing. It's not beautiful per se, but it is correct. And as we follow the patterns of light and shadow here correctly, we should be able to achieve that. Now I'm going to smooth out one more edge. Probably the chin here feels like a good destination to let this be a little smoother. There we go. The nose also, there are plenty of edges you could smoothen out here, but I'm going to keep this to a minimum, and now we're going to paint this. So my interpretation was, let's put the shadow in the eye socket, and then this shadow is going to connect to this shadow on the right. It's going to end somewhere around here, and within the eyelid we have this nice little shadow, and then on the eye itself and here we even have a bit of a shadow under that. And look at what we got. We got a very simple yet effective way of shading. Now, if you really want to make this pop, what you'll do is add a bit of background. You can do that as well, just to bring out the light parts. But now we're getting into composition and things like that. This isn't really what we're going to be focusing on today, but feel free to, you know, make it work as a finished painting, right? If you feel like you're carried by the process, the best thing, in my opinion, to do is to let it carry you, you know. It's very wise, I think, to allow it to carry you. But this is pretty much it for the first example. Very effective, very simple, light, shadow, and that's how you map it out. Now let's see how we're doing for time. Good, so it took about 18 minutes, so we can probably do at least 3 more, I think. Let's see what you're saying in the chat. Christening is a ceremony where a Christian baby is sort of welcomed into the world. Some people, okay, so like, is it baptism or is it just a different thing? Some people use the word for something new for the first time. That's cool, that's cool. I love it. Already reminded in this video the drawing of Drawing the Head by William Morgan. Brilliant book with an emphasis on light and shadow rather than on features. That's cool. Useful for all sorts of media, not just watercolor. Even something blocky like that is hard to follow. Yeah, it could be hard to follow. Let's take a bit more time in mapping the shadows in the next example. Painting shadows adds so much detail, it's like magic. Yep. Sue, hi from Chicago. I've been using the APP Procreate to adjust my initial sketch of the portrait. It helps me get the position of the eyes, nose, and mouth. Oh, that's cool. Is that a feature? I didn't know it exists. That sounds great. Okay, so let's do another one. I like your strange words, Magic Man. Thank you, Mr. Red. I appreciate it. Let's go back here and figure out what the next... let's even change the angle a bit. So I'm going to grab these, and we're going to choose one angle and figure out how we're going to do. Maybe let's start from the left, but let's do this here. So there we go. Back to the normal mic. So we're going to go with this angle next. So let me adjust the model to that angle. So it's going to be going to be obstructing some of the eye, actually, here. That. Much. Okay. And now it's time to decide on the light source, okay? So this we don't see much, so let's think of something that will really bring out. We can go even from above and below. This I love. Maybe we'll go with something like that. I think this works really nicely. This is also a relatively simple shape. I think that's what we'll do. I like that a lot. That's what we'll go with. So yeah, I'm gonna set up the angle, and I think we'll get to it. Let me go back here. So we'll bring this aside for a second. We'll set it here, and let me arrange my model, because I'm now looking at my. And I'm gonna zoom in and out every once in a while to make sure the camera doesn't shut off, because I still haven't found a setting. I did it real quick before the stream. Haven't found a setting to cancel the auto turn off, and it's gonna be a problem if it turns off. So this is my angle right here, and the light is gonna shine from above. We'll get a bit of a separation there. Let me make sure I get the angle correctly. It's actually a little trickier than I thought. Oh, because it's not from above, I think. There we go. Good. Okay, so I think I have the angle. Let's map out the shadows. I'm going to set this aside for a second. Okay, so we definitely see a clear transition here, right? From the light coming from the right side. And this is definitely a shadow. So let's see where it leads us. So this goes down here, it's still in the shadow. This is what's called shadow mapping. This is something I do just generally when I paint anything that is this kind of a style, like a portrait. Anything that has a round type of mess, anything like still life, fruits, vegetables, all of that good stuff, I do the same process. So this shadow goes here, goes down here, goes down here, and this is interesting. It connects here, but it skips the eyelid in a way. And then this connects here. So this is an island of a highlight, almost. And I'll probably stop it here. Let's actually do this. So this is shadow. This is shadow. All of this is shadow. This is shadow. What we end up with is some of the initial lines I put down becoming less important. These lines within the shadow aren't as important anymore, right? We're going to paint over them. By the way, this is how the previous one dries. Really nice, very simple, very straightforward. Nothing too brainy, you know, fairly simple. And it's going to continue along this line of the nose. I will probably, do I want to include, yeah, I'll probably include the bottom of the nose in the shadow, this part of the bottom, and then it connects here, and it goes down to that line above the lip, connects to the lip, and the other lip is completely engulfed in the shadow, and then the chin. So essentially everything to the left of this line is a shadow. Like so. And look at how it already starts getting a feel, right? Like a feeling of being a solid object. This entire bottom plane is in the shadow, and it connects here fully. This is the, you know, Adam's apple, or whatever you call that. So this goes here, and we will have a nice little pattern like this. I actually use this tool a lot when I finished drawing a character for the manga I'm working on, and I want a certain light and shadow conditions, and I do want to put some more work into the shading. I'll use this model, I'll rotate it in the angle I need, and then I'll rotate the light and shadow how I envision it in my mind, and I'll use that to extrapolate on my character. It's a great tool once you build some experience. Hey Janine, came in late, missed it. What is this program? So we're gonna work on drawing the human head with different angles, different directions of light and shadow, and how to map the shadow successfully. And we have this great model to work with. You can find references for these scans of the sketches I did. You can trace them and kind of figure it out alongside with me. Now we're gonna add a bit of shadow here to the base of the ear. Not necessarily, it's not a must here as well. And I would probably shade the inside here like this. From my experience, it may end up being in the shadow. And let's get to it. Again, the technique is the part I actually wanted to focus more on, but the shadow mapping part is also very important. Let's switch out colors. Let's go with this nice little violet that we have here, just for fun. And so right now what we're tackling is still one big shape, so almost like we had here, one big shape, but this time the other eye on the other side is connected with the shadow, so we get a bit more of a nuance that we want to pay attention to. Okay, so oops, went to the black paint. So what I'm gonna do is start top to bottom once again. Again, this is physics. The paint moves down, so it's easier to maintain a smooth wash, but you don't have to work this way. Whatever works for you. Now here is where the nuance comes into play. We want to be a little careful, and that would be in this area where we need to leave that eyelid, and make sure, let me zoom in a bit more, because why not? I mean, there we go. Where we want to leave the eyelid and some, you know, nuance of shape there. I could switch to a smaller brush, but I like using the larger brushes. And just be careful. Sometimes it's impossible though, you have to switch over. So we're gonna have this and that kind of a thing here. And this thing I forgot to shade, but it's actually the shadow as well. The eyelid. The eyelids they have a mass. It's important to remember things have a mass to them. And I'm kind of moving the excess paint over to the other side, because that's where I need it. Now look at what we can do. We can decide to smoothen out this, because the eye, the white of the eye, you know, it's an eyeball, so we're gonna have a smooth transition there. It's a challenge to smoothen an edge in this small of a space, but it is possible. There we go. And lift a bit. And we get a smooth transition there. Another way to achieve a smooth transition is, remember, to just first put water, then put the paint. We may look at something like that later if it's relevant. Now I don't see any more edges that I would like to smoothen probably. Or you know what, we could do this for the chin. Let's do this for the chin. So here we go. All the way down here. And as we get to the chin, if you want to have an easier time, look at what we're gonna do. I'm gonna, again, pre-wet this area here so that I'll have an easier time achieving a smooth transition there. Because once I'll put the paint in, it's gonna spread out. You'll see in a second. It's gonna spread out more freely there, creating a smoother transition. Now I went a little too far there, so I can lift back just a bit of the paint under the lip. Something like that. There we go. This should still be quite strong and will help the paint move along the bottom here of the face. Now you're not always gonna actually cross-hatch the dark area, so maybe for the next example, let's not cross-hatch. Let's just figure out where it is and work with our instincts. So a bit of shadow here and there. And Now we can actually do something fun I wasn't really planning on, but we can use some wet and wet to further darken the very dark areas if we choose to. Let me show you what that's gonna look like. So I'm gonna use both the violet and the black, and I'm just gonna put in here some paint here as well. See, and well, we're bringing out the darker dark. So here we have a bit of a darker area within that left eye. It's a little more in the shadow. Under the nose where the nostrils are, we have a bit of that. We have a bit of it here that's probably starting to dry, so I'm kind of taking a risk, but that's fine. And lower lip maybe. And you see how it starts to almost carve out bit of a nice variety there within the darks. It's actually a bit hard to see the nuances. Let me hold it up to the camera. Can you see? Right? It's a little creepy because it's a model. It's not a real person, so it's a bit uncanny. But if it were more organic, right, and more like a real person, we'd of course get a more human impression. Now, just like we did before, let's bring out the let's give the highlights meaning by shading around them just a bit, making them pop. I don't want to go too much into the other upcoming portrait. You can even, you know, extend this over to the shadow side. Of course, you don't have to stop there. And in fact, if you want to pre-plan for it, you'll wet the area around as you apply the shadow initially, and get a bit of that effect going in advance. Maybe we'll do that for the next example. But there we are. Very simple, very direct. Janine, what is the computer program you're using for the model? It's a link below. You'll see it in the description of the video. It's a website called ArtStation where artists put a bunch of, you know, artworks and different tools and references. Hit the link, you'll find it. There are two links, one for ArtStation and one for my sketches if you want to use them. Alicia, I like the big brushes. I go sometimes even bigger ones, and for whatever reason, or I got some even bigger ones, for whatever reason they blend out edges for me better without picking up paint. Tools are half the battle, I feel. Yes, it is. That is so true. Hey Terry Peep, how are you? Thank you. Jacqueline, light, I guess, really matters. I've tried painting from a reference photo that's barely defined by light and shadow. It's hard. Yep, it is. Very hard. I came in late. I missed it. Okay, sorry, we got that. Now I understand what you mean. I thought you meant the program, like the topic of this stream. Thank you, Eduardo. Thank you so much. Love your channel. Greetings from Spain. Much appreciated. Joanne, thank you for the wow. Pam, thank you for the wow as well. Okay. Like a sculpture. Yes, it is indeed more similar to a sculpture. May says, how come you're the best person? Oh, thank you so much. Did you send me a message and I missed it probably? Yes, sorry. Aaron Chase, I appreciate when you say that if something is difficult to do, it makes me feel, oh yeah, it definitely is. Nancy. Yeah. Okay, let's do another one. So for the next angle, let's actually go back to the front facing, and I'm gonna switch over, and this is how it's kind of drying. I think it looks really good. So let's go over there and decide on another one. So we're gonna go again with the forward facing angle. So let's bring it back here. And let's try and find something more interesting. So the last time we had this kind of a thing, right? Let's see how we can get it to look more interesting. I think let's go for a bottom light. That's dramatic and kind of creepy, you know? Maybe something like this. I would even go maybe with the center. That is ahead, but from below, right? So that will be our next kind of a thing. If you want to trace based on what I did, you know, feel free to. You can really go at it however you want. You can even apply this to a portrait of an actual person you're working on, right? So let's do that. So, central I dropped something. What did I drop? Where did this come from? I'll have to find it later. Is it from my chair? Yeah, I think it is. Got a few loose screws in my chair. That's not a good thing, generally speaking. I'll try to survive this. We'll see. By the way, Ruth is really hanging out here. I don't think you can see her at that angle. Let's see. No, it's gonna be hard. You can see her here. A little baby. Okay. So, let me set it up so that you can actually see what I'm doing here. Good. And we'll map it out. So I need to fix my model to face the same direction. And there we go, to the center. And by the way, that's how you isolate problems in your art and painting and whatever. You know, right now we're working on one very specific aspect, and that is the understanding where light and shadow is on the face, right? So that's the mapping part. It's not easy to know these things. You need to, once you understand that the eyes are dented inwards and that this plane tilts a little down, like the nose goes in and out, these things start to make more sense, but it's not easy to just guess, you know? Some knowledge sometimes is necessary. So look at what happens here with the shadows. I'm not even gonna, do I want to draw a line and that's it maybe? Yeah, let's do that. No, let's just do very loose kind of cross-hatching actually. So this entire thing and around the ear here is in the shadow, like so. And the entirety of the underside here is going to cast a shadow. That's the chin, or the front of the face, casting a shadow down on the neck. This entire thing here is in the shadow. There we go. Same on the other side, because this is going to be symmetrical, right? There we go. Now, here's what happens. From below, anything that... is it below though? No, it's not really below. What did I do here? I didn't even go for a below angle. I went for a top front. So yeah, sorry about that. I confused you. I should probably... this is what I wanted to actually do. We'll do that next. Sorry. I confused you. It's just the center and above. I don't know why I said below and thought like below when it clearly isn't. But I guess sorry about that. So from above, what we're gonna have is the lower lip. You can see it here, actually. Lower lip faces inside. So anything that faces away from the light is gonna be darker. So the upper lip, sorry, faces down. The upper lip goes like this. The upper part of the chin goes like that. So that's gonna be dark. And then we're gonna get a cast shadow under the nose. Now look at what happens to the shadow. It goes like this, and then it almost curves like that. We see it as a straight line, but it's actually like a bit of a curve. And inside the eye sockets, because it's above and they're dented in, because it's actually above, not below. And then this is also in the shadow. And you know, a lot of it is still open for interpretation. So if you're working on a character or a portrait and you feel like maybe a different pattern of shadow will look better, sometimes you may be correct and you may want to change it up, use some artistic license to get things to look right. So let's do this. This is entirely in the shadow. And there I went and actually shaded a little too much here. Too strong of cross-hatching, but that's fine. Let's start shading this. Let's go back to the black. Now I don't need much paint here. Let's add a bit of blue to give it some interest. I'm gonna add a bit of phthalo blue, like 10% maybe. Just to add a bit of interest to it. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you for being here. Greetings from Peru. Awesome. Peru is so beautiful. Hey, Hank. thank you for being here. Saint Inky, hi, all great info, a little late, but I'll rewatch what I missed. Yep, thank you so much. Chris, thank you so much. Method of painting and teaching style, thank you, really appreciate it. My pleasure, Janine. Really appreciate everyone being here. Really, thank you so much. So, let's do this. Start with the edges. Now, you don't even have to work on both sides simultaneously, but if you're adventurous, go ahead. I'm gonna make it a little more challenging because now I have to worry about both these areas and these edges. It's not the smartest thing to do, but sometimes I like doing it that way. The one advantage is you'll get consistent color mixes. So your colors are gonna match here and there. So if you want to, let's say, change the temperature as you move down, or do all sorts of effects. Actually, let's do that in the next example. Let's do dual temperature. Let's do warm and cool. Actually, that'll be fun. So if you need that consistency, it can help to work on both sides simultaneously. So that's another extra thought. May help someone. There we go. Bit of shadow here, and that means a bit of shadow here. And this connects here, this connects there, and we'll continue traveling across. Actually, let's do some temperatures next. It's going to be interesting. It's adding another variable. Of course, you don't have to do that. If you feel like you're already being taken to the limit of your kind of ability to figure out what's going on, that's very natural. But if you do want to challenge yourself, that's a fun way of doing that. So now here we already get a connection to the lip. The one thing that doesn't connect here is the nose. So I'm going to be wise and not add, hopefully, another shape to add to my add complications here. Let's do this like that. And this goes here. This goes there. And this entire thing is basically in the shadow. Right here. One thing to have in mind is, and so this is what I wanted. Let's go a little more nuanced here, and I'm gonna put in some mid values. So we're gonna have a bit of a shadow here. We're gonna have a bit of a shadow on the sides here. This thing is almost a mid value. Right, because at the end of the day, we've been dividing into light and dark. That also requires a bit of our interpretation, but reality is usually more complex than that, right? So you get some in between, like what I'm putting in right now, and this brings us to the nose that we can just kind of go ahead and add the shadow that we didn't add earlier. And you see, the more values we'll actually establish, the more of a well-rounded, quite literally more rounded it will feel, but also more well-rounded and balanced it'll feel. And we can actually blend some of these. So you see how it gives it just more of a complete look. I hope that makes sense. Hey Adria, how are you doing? There we go. Now let me add a bit of clean water here, get rid of some of that. There we go. And also, you do see a bit of the eyeballs, also a little darker. This inner part of the eyelids a little darker. I would probably... let's do this a bit on the lip here. Do you see how it just brings it all together a little better? Honestly, this entire area should be a little darker, but I'll probably let that one go for now. But this should probably be a little darker. But you see how it just gives it a bit more of a well-rounded... actually, let's darken this a bit. What can go wrong, you know? Famous last words. Let's use a very thin value here just to distinguish it a bit from maybe some lighter sections. I'm gonna leave the top here a little lighter, see? But it's just a bit more finished, right? Sometimes the shapes won't be as clear, that's fine. Yeah. Pam, I like the phrase mapping. That's a great word to remember as I approach a value study. Yes, indeed. So Janeth, maybe we could press the like button. 93 watching. Oh, thank you so much. That's a lot. for me recently. I've been getting less people watching, so yeah, if you can drop a like, it will help me a lot. Nancy, hey, Sleepy, and Ruth. Alberto, hi Liron, absolute useful this information, thanks a lot, thank you. So let's do another angle. Let's do it this one. I think we'll go with the middle one. So let's plan it out. So I will orient our model here, our nice model. Angles. This moves a little down here. I'll try and match what I have on paper as best as I can. I'm gonna need the light coming from a different direction. That. I think my angle is more from above. But this is close enough. Now, I want to go with something that will allow us almost to do a bit of cool and warm study of this. So let's think about what could lend itself well to this. This is a very tough angle, by the way. Generally, for drawing, it's a tough angle to deal with. I kind of like this, you know. I kind of like this. I think this is what I'll go with. I'm squinting my eyes to see the overall almost composition of shapes. This is nice too, but this is a little too similar to what I already had. This is cool, but maybe for another angle. Yeah, I think we'll go with what I had earlier. Was it? Oh, actually, the starting point is really nice. I'll go with that. I'll go with the starting point of the video. It'll be easier to find also other Mac. Yeah, we'll go with that. That works really well. So, and this will give us some opportunities to work on temperatures. So here's the nose. It's gonna be something like that's close enough. So we actually are gonna have almost two values here. So the real darkness starts here. But we're gonna have another kind of intermediate level. So let's, it's almost more effective to map the highlights in these kinds of instances. But anyway, let's map the darkest darks, and then I will eyeball the mid values, okay? So this is all part of the darkest darks, all the way to here, including the lips entirely. And then kind of going like that, and we'll have a shadow down here. Now, as for this side, we will have a bit of the darkest darks here, and that's pretty much it. We have a bit of a shadow here. I'm good to go. This is a little more vague, a little more open for interpretation for me, which I like. Jacqueline, I was worried the shadow would look like a beard, but yours is a very clean shave. Yes, yeah, it's you know, if you follow the pattern, it will make sense. It will look correct. Funny enough. So I'm gonna be using this. I don't even know what it is. It's like a burnt sienna type of deal, together with my ultramarine. Gonna go for a very cliche setup. Maybe I'll add a bit of lemon yellow here. And we'll work our way, starting from the lighter lights and then moving on to the darker darks. So this is a little more involved now, because we're adding color to the equation. So you just want to maybe take your time a bit more, figure out where we're headed. But remember, you can start small and, you know, I'm gonna add a bit of this too. You can start small and kind of see where you're at, get a feel for how things look, and make sure you're all set and then go. So to me, let's start here. I think this makes a lot of sense. And I'm gonna be mapping out the mid shadows, the not too dark ones. And then we'll move on to the darker shadows. Good. Now we can already maybe decide that this here is a bit of a more rounded transition, like that. See? But around the temple, I'll keep this a bit of a harder transition, because that's actually what it tends to be. I can already add a bit of water and extend this here, just a bit to help me in a second to add. And I can use dual brushes, look at me. Dual wielding my colors. But yeah, let's see. I'm gonna work on this. It looks like I'm gonna work on this a bit of a hybrid process. That's just what happens. Sometimes I go with the flow. So maybe this is gonna be a little less educational, but hopefully still fun to watch. This is a shadow all the way through. This goes down here. This is actually gonna connect completely here. This is definitely an edge I want to blend. So we'll do this kind of a, because the cheek transition is soft, it's not a hard transition. So you want to smoothen it out a bit. Go back to our, and let's play around with the temperature a bit. We can inject a bit more warmth here. Connect it with this shadow here and under the nose. Is that correct? I think it is. I think it makes sense. And let's move on to our other color. So I'm gonna add the blue to the mix here. That way I can almost control it a little bit more. Go a little darker. Let's see if we can get away with just using a darker value too. More a la prima. Kind of like that. And this will all connect neatly in a second. This front plane is a little more blue actually, so let me get some more blue here. Feels a little cooler almost. And as we move down, I'm gonna neutralize just a bit, but it's still gonna be on the cool side, like so. Oh, this entire thing is in the shadow. I don't have to think too much. Let's actually bring back the large brush. And let's go with the flow, see what happens here. So where I need to be a little careful, I'll probably use a bit more blue also to make the distinction. Because this is the transition point. And we'll go back to this kind of a gray all the way down here. So one mistake I did make is I went a little too far here. So let's lift that back. Because I'm using my friend Saunders, I can do a little better job at it. And I can even use some tissue. There we go. And then we can start maybe lifting a bit and also charging some wet and wet if necessary. So this here should be lighter, see? It's a little triangle. And this side of the chin as well. You see how it's sculpted? Like so. And let's do some wet in wet with the two colors. But relatively strong mix. Just to get some feel of, you know, the upper lip and the chin. Maybe even the front and under the nose. See, it starts to give it a little more depth. As for the other side, I'm gonna use this a little more purely, but stronger and darker. Get this kind of a thing, and this kind of a shape here. There we go. Clean it up a little. This eyelid should be stronger. I'm gonna put this in the shadow as well. This as well. Makes a lot more sense. This actually should be darker too. There we go. And then to the bottom, the side of the nostril tends to have a bit of a shadow on it. So let's add a bit of that. There we go. Something like this looks really good. Again, very open for interpretation, but this is kind of mine. And you see, you get a somewhat of a human-looking thing that has a bit of depth to it. I think more thanks to the temperature. I think it adds a lot of depth. Actually, this a little darker eyelid here. Even this should be a little darker. There we go. And there you go. Pretty much, you know, I can go ahead and wait for it to dry and then darken, but I feel like it's a really nice feeling of light and shadow. Let me show it to you a little up close. Hopefully the colors will make a little more sense. The camera is a little just desaturated. That's something I'll have to fix because it's the first time I use it that way, but I really like this one. I feel like it has a real soul to it. There is a bit of a shadow here. I'm gonna keep it a little warm, but quite neutral. And that's pretty much how you would start introducing, you know, a bit of color, a bit of temperature to the deal. Like that. Yeah, I think we're good. This was a fun one. I love this like smooth and then hard edge. This here tends to start being like a hard edge, hard transition from front to side. Let's do one more and then we'll figure out if we want to do more. But yeah, so let's go back to the front, or maybe let's do this one. I think we'll go for a bit of a tougher angle. Let's see here what we'll do with this one. Let's continue with our pattern. Thank you, Nancy. Scalp could be darker. Yeah, indeed, it could be darker. Yes. I kind of put the value it looks like in second priority. I can go ahead and darken a lot of it more. I actually like the smooth transition a bit more. Here, you can see it a bit more saturated. I could just wait for it to dry and then cover it up. Let's try maybe for the last one to do something that is both temperature and value. Let's try and see if we can apply that for the next one. So angle is gonna be a bit from above. You don't see the eye. Really almost profile view. I think this is close enough. And let's even change our approach. Let's do something vastly different. We can do this, just paint the whole thing. Like this a lot. Let's go with that. This is really nice. It's very clear and sharp shapes. I think this will be interesting. There we go. We'll go with that. So I'm gonna arrange it the same way. This is a really nice angle for the light and shadow. I like it a lot. Okay, like that. And so I'm struggling to find the same angle. Oh yeah, there we go. Something like that. Okay, that's gonna be really nice. So you'll see. Now I'll try and incorporate both. So we're gonna focus both on the values and on the temperature. So let me get started with warmth. I'm gonna forget about the edges, I think, because that's just a lot of work, honestly. bit of water here to make it lighter. And as we move down here, I'm gonna keep the warmth on this side, but we'll start with the stronger, darker temperatures here. Actually, let's use phthalo, it'll darken faster. There we go. I'm gonna try and nail as much as I can both value and temperature the way I want. I didn't even map the shadows this time. Not very smart of me, but we'll work it out. I'm just gonna follow what I'm seeing here. So this goes here. And as we reach the lighter sections, I'm gonna continue with this cleaner, brighter, I would say, orange. Keep it relatively nicely saturated. And I can actually use almost the same mix here over on the ear, on this side of the ear at least, and switch over to my dark. Let's go a little stronger even on the shadow. Let's really make sure that it's distinct compared to the lighter sections. So this here, this entire thing is a shadow, right? Look at this transition, that's really nice. The entire neck is actually in the shadow. Let's go a little muted down here, like so. But I need to maintain the value. Sorry, lost the camera there. Exactly the thing I feared, but now we're good. If there's any issues lingering, let me know, but I think we should be good. That was exactly the thing I knew will happen at some point. I just need to find that silly menu item and set it. So yeah. And as we reach down to this section, we are going to go ahead again, switch to... Now, what's going to happen is this is going to be a lighter consistency, so you want to be careful in how you touch these two edges. So I like to just really go over it like this. Let them kind of naturally blend, if possible. And we'll move along this line, this shadow, down to the chin. And let's not forget this shadow before the area starts drying on us, and then we'll get some awkward edges. So there we go. And I will probably keep the shadow under the lip quite warm. I like this transition, so I'm not gonna meddle with it, even though it's not in the perfect placement, but I like it a lot. So we leave it like that. There goes the lip. Here. The nose tends to have a bit more warmth, so I'm gonna mix the two. So we're gonna have some warmth here. But then as we move down, we're gonna get some blue around the cast shadow. These are very small, you know, nuances, really. But you'll see them later on. And here it's going to be a dark shadow. Let's do... problem with the phthalo blue is it turns into a green more than the French ultramarine. I'm going to move this for a second. Work a little carefully here. There we go. This is quite dark, and it should connect here. Ryan, I saw your email. My apologies. I have seen it, I think, shortly after you sent it, and I haven't gotten a chance to reply. But I will do my best to reply soon. My apologies. But I saw it with the Barg. That's really great. Barg is so cool. So useful. So I actually quite liked the... let's add a bit of yellow. I like the shadow, almost fake shadow here on the side of the nose. So I think I'll add it in. Just want to be careful not to let the blue move too much down below. So let's do this. And here as well. It's quite light. And I think we're good. I like that strong contrast here. I wouldn't start darkening this as well. The chin, however, is a little darker. See, now this is a really nice, in my opinion, both value and temperature study. Now, let me show you if I combine the two and kind of add a very muted background. Green, so I'll need to add a bit of red to it just to neutralize it a bit more. If we add a background, especially to the right side, look at what's gonna happen. We're gonna get something that feels a little like it has a bit more three-dimensionality to it, right? Again, the dark background can do a lot of work to enhance what you already have there. I'm gonna keep this nice little gap going. See? See how it immediately enhances the shape and the feel of light and shadow. Gonna keep it lighter here where we already have a shadow. If you cannot mess around with it too much once you place it, that is ideal. But I think this is a great almost example to end on in terms of the painting demos, because it puts everything together quite nicely, I think. I don't know, let me know what you think. I'm gonna show it to you on the other camera where you'll see some of the colors a little better. And then we can do some chats and if you have any questions. See, this is a great one and the nose, under the nose could be darker, of course. I can go ahead and darken it, it's okay. That's nice, but I actually really like this, so I may just leave it like that. But it's just a matter of adding a bit of darkness there, because it's obviously darker under the nose, the model itself. But you see all of these fun transitions, I really like that. So yeah. Let's see what you're saying. I'm gonna open up the chat. Marina, hey, welcome. Thank you so much. I'll maybe scan these in a second and bring them up on the screen, but let's see what you're writing here. I sent you some of my bark plates, but maybe they went on your email spam folder anyway. Check them out if you have time. Is your surface tilted or flat? Seems like the color was flowing slightly downwards. Yes, about 10 degree angle. By the way, my favorite color this week is Daniel Smith Transparent Red Oxide. It mixes nicely with ultramarine. That's cool. Actually, let me see. Look, because I think I read the email. I just didn't have time to write a comment. No, I haven't read it. I confused it with something else. So I'll read it properly and then answer. Bugs, this is the best online demo I've ever seen. Wow, thank you so much. Especially that you brought up the painting to show the dark in the darks. This demo goes perfectly with where I'm at in your frustration-free watercolor. Oh, that's really cool. Let me go back there for a second. So that I can show it to you as we look at some of your messages, and then we will I'll scan it. I wanted to dry first 100%, and then we'll scan it and take a closer look. Mike's good. Yeah, we're good. Thank you so much, Buck. Yeah, I really, really appreciate it. And that's a part of the gradual transition of the approach in the frustration-free watercolor course. Honestly, it's that idea of we're going to add the components in step by step so that you can actually implement things, you know? So we talk about, you know, mapping the shadows. Let me zoom out a bit. We talked about mapping the shadows. We talked about you know, knowing where the shadow and light is, adding a bit of the secondary values, playing around with temperatures, you know, all of these things. They're not easy to do simultaneously. When you tackle a full-on portrait, it's very challenging. One thing that can actually help is to understand the directions of light and shadow in a generic sculpture of the human face, and then you can recognize it in your portrait. That can really help. But very happy this helps. Adria, enjoying listening while getting my day started. Hope you are well. Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing really well. It's been a nice day today. Janine, I have a question about your drawing course and watercolor course. Do you do feedback for the lessons? I don't do it officially, so I don't commit to doing it, because if I say that's a part of the product, then of course I need to set up a system and make sure that I reply and give feedback for everyone. I don't. I do this on a free time basis. So whenever I have a few moments, I'll check out a few emails. I'll do some, you know, some messages, but I don't do this regularly. It will be just very challenging to do with, you know, limited time. So feel free to send me anything, you know, I'll do my best. And I also do occasional critique videos, so maybe in the future one, if you send me something, I could show it. So yeah, I'm doing my best. I wish I had time to like respond as many as I can. It's so time consuming. I'll spend hours answering and figure out I went through, you know, like 20 emails, and then I have 40 others. So I'm doing my best. I am replying immediately to technical issues if you can't access the course or anything like that. Yes, I try to answer as fast as possible. Let's see here. Jacqueline, wow, so subtle, but makes a huge difference. Yes. Surface, yes, we talked about it. 10 degree. I like that your live started an hour earlier. Normally I have to be somewhere when you start. Interesting, I didn't change anything. It was like 9 a.m. Eastern time, like always. Not sure. Silhouette, my kind of painting, yes. Nancy looks cooler, really like the darks within the dark, yep. Sculpt could be darker indeed for the previous example. You know, sometimes I look at something like this, Sujanith, and I know that I could go over it with another wash, but I like so much how it's a smooth transition that I just leave it like that. One thing I discovered is I've never really had a problem of overworking my paintings, but I do sometimes go one step too far to the land of just an incorrect decision. So I'll just do something that it loses a bit of the magic that it had. It's not even going to be an excess of details or anything like that. And this is especially true for more organic objects and small scale scenes. For a cityscape, I can spend some time, a lot of time actually adding, you know, highlights and different details. For portraits and small scale things where the gentle aspect of the medium becomes a little more prominent, I find that it's very easy for me to do that one last bit that wasn't really necessary, and I lose some of the flow. That's the thing. So I actually really like this, and I would not, in this specific example, take the risk. That's the thing. Now let me scan this one for you. So I'm gonna dry it. I'm gonna mute so that you don't hear the annoying sound, and we'll scan it and we'll talk. So give me a second. And I'll answer most of your questions. Just a second. I'm gonna mute though for now. We're good. Let me scan it. I think this one's gonna look really, really nice scanned. I love how I now don't have to worry too much about the mic. This has been probably my greatest purchase in recent time. The Elgato Cam link. So we're gonna scan its color, scan. It's just fantastic. I can just go do whatever I want, and you'll hear me properly. Let's get rid of this. We don't need it for now. And let's see your questions. In the meantime, Adria, thank you so much. Hillel. Okay, so I'm gonna read it in Hebrew, then translate it to English and answer both. שאלה, באיזה רמת אטימות של צבע אתה משתמש? אם הבנתי נכון שיש 3 סוגים, שקוף, חצי שקוף ואטום. Yeah, so this is basically a question about opacity and how opaque or transparent the color is and what colors I use. And Hillel says there are a couple of levels. They understand, you know, semi-opaque, semi-transparent, and all of that. I'm going to answer in Hebrew, then in English. הלל, בגדול, זה אפילו לאו דווקא 3 סוגים, יש כל מיני, יש רמות, כאילו יש חצי אטום, חצי שקוף, יש כל מיני, זה תלוי בחברה. ברמת העיקרון אני לא מקדיש לזה יותר מדי תשומת לב, אני פשוט סוג של משתמש במה שאני יכול. שבהתחלה, כשאתה רוצה שהציור ירגיש מאוד... כשרוצים שהציור יהיה מאוד בהיר, ושכאילו האור יעבור דרכו, דרך הנייר, אני מעדיף להשתמש בצבעים שהם יותר שקופים, אבל אחרי זה לא אכפת לי גם להשתמש בצבעים אטומים יותר. אז זה כזה, אני לא באמת חושב על זה הרבה, לפעמים אני אוהב לעשות ברטוב על רטוב, פשוט לשים צבע אטום בתוך שקוף, וזה נראה טוב. אז כן, זה בגדול התשובה. So let me translate. Basically said I don't devote too much attention to transparency, opaqueness. I just kind of go with what I have. But sometimes I do like, if I can, to start with more transparent paints just for the beginning, to have the light shine through the paper and back into the viewer's eye, and then I'll start adding some more opaque paints later on. But I actually don't really pay much attention to it. I'm being quite honest. Just gotta use whatever I feel like. There's definitely I don't think there's a right or wrong way in that regard. Because let me just fix the colors a bit. Make sure that it's looking like the real thing. There we go. I know my scanner's pretty weak with blues. See here? Yep, let's bring it on the screen just so that we have it to our side, and I'll continue with your comments. Documents, scanned documents, boom, there we go. Okay, resize this thing. And yeah, I think this looks really good. We have the other one too, but I think this is honestly the more interesting one. I'm gonna put it here. There we go. I really like it. I love the right, extreme most right example. Is so, that's exactly what I wanted it to be. Okay, good. If you can't hear me, because I'm gonna move a bit, just let me know. Ryan, I can't remember, but do you have a video about painting metallic shiny surfaces? Your Thunderbird pair of paintings are making me want to paint my silver Lexus SC430. So do you know, Ryan, that I have a video on the Thunderbirds? So you can actually see me paint them. Shiny. Okay, so I have 2 videos you want to check out. One is actually the Thunderbirds, which I think is perfect, because that's the one you asked about. So I show both processes. So let me just share it for a second in chat. So that's going to be the Thunderbirds. And then I also have a video on just generally shiny details. It's actually a Mercedes car, a little statue thing. Yeah, I definitely have a bit of it. At least 2 that are very relevant. The Thunderbirds one is, I think, the better or the best one, the more detailed one. But the other one is really cool too. Adriel, I'll have to watch the play because I missed quite a bit because I'm making breakfast, but it looks great. Thank you so much. Yeah, I was just scanning to show you. Jacqueline. Gina, good morning. It seems I'm late. Yeah, no worries. We're going to talk a bit. Here's some of the results. We have a bit more we haven't done only one of these. Maybe I'll do it later and share. Maybe I'll share all of these. Oh, I keep forgetting my coffee here. A second. There we go. I can actually make the chat box a little larger here. Go, so we get more of your messages. Wait a bit here. Move this. I barely have space in my own video. Yeah. I'll go back, make sure I didn't miss too much. Oh yeah, I think I'm caught up. Ryan, okay, cool. Thank you so much, as always. I thought I saw something a while back, but you have so many videos, I don't know where to look. Yeah, and some videos are honestly a little harder to find. I don't know why exactly. Sorry about the noise. I don't know how exactly, but maybe the keywords I've been using aren't as good. Because this one in particular, you have to search specifically Thunderbirds, metallic, chrome surfaces until you find it. It's a bit ridiculous, actually. Jacqueline, I love the blue Kia you painted. I think it was a Kia. Yeah, I think I know which one. Do you refer to the one with the wet and wet? Or is it a different one? I'm not sure. But in case, yeah. By the way, if you have any questions about... Oh, my mouse is a little slow. That's... if you have any questions specifically about these, portraits and processes, let me know. I think the first one, I'll just go briefly over some of them. For those who missed, like this is the first one we did. So I basically showed how to map the shadows and how to add them. Very thin washes, just flowing, and understanding how watercolor's technique will affect the process. So where the main shape of the shadow is, do we have to think about connecting shapes to get a better flow? Are there some areas that are a little more complex that we need to be more focused on? This, for example, I painted both sides simultaneously. The smarter thing would honestly be to start with one, and then as I get down to work on the other one fast. But there is some merit to painting both sides because you get unity of colors. And yeah, this one we left blank. I'll probably paint it later and maybe share all of the 6 results. Of course, you can see it on the screen. I feel like this one is, I don't like the angle of light and shadow we chose as much, but I do like the wet and wet. I think it worked nicely. Really like this one and this one showing temperatures. This is a great example of the color variance that you can get with very few colors. You can see it again on the rightmost side. I've been using just, phthalo blue, right? Phthalo blue and French ultramarine in this context are quite similar, actually. The phthalo blue does lead to a bit more green, but generally phthalo blue, burnt sienna for all intents and purposes, and that yellow, that final touch of yellow there, I think really helps it look better, honestly. That was lemon yellow mixed with a bit of red or what. And you can get a lot out of it. It's almost a Velasquez palette when you think about it. But yeah, you can get quite a bit out of that kind of a thing. Jacqueline, I don't know, it was mostly just the car. Maybe it was just a post about it. What paper do you use? Do you wet it at the back? Says Edda. Edda, no, I don't usually wet the back. I didn't even wet the front. I just painted mostly wet on dry paper. The paper is Saunders Waterford. This is cold press. I like the hot press too a lot. It's good for other purposes. And I do have John to thank for, who sent me a birthday gift. I have a lot of these, so I basically never have to buy paper. Thank you so much. It's amazing. I can no longer get this paper here. Unfortunately, they don't bring it anymore. So you're a real lifesaver. It's my favorite one. The one I may be able to find here locally is Arche and Fabriano. Bit more of Ruth, but they aren't as great, honestly. Arche really depends on the batch. Fabriano is okay, not the best sometimes, but I've had some good experiences with it. It's 300 grams, by the way. I have been using for a while 600. It was a real treat, but it's really unnecessary unless you paint huge and you don't want as much buckling. Other than that, not really. Jacqueline, I've been using Arche. Yeah, Arche is good. I don't know why. I haven't had a bad batch, but I heard some people have. A lot of people, actually. 300 grams. Indeed, hate, kill, destroy 87. Joshua, the key to making a painting look good is focus on shadow, shape, and color. And basically all the fundamentals, you know, the shape, the shadows, the colors, the drawing, the composition, everything together, really, I find just the way it all connects sometimes is very unpredictable. And you may think something doesn't work and then it works and vice versa. Why was I out of focus? I wish YouTube used hashtags. Yeah, it would have been easier to. Actually, there are hashtags. They're just not as good as Instagram. I'm not sure what screen space at a premium means. Josh, let me know. I hadn't heard about a bad batch of art. Yeah, well, if you haven't experienced it, good for you, because probably all the paper you have is good. But yeah. Janine, I like the one in the middle. The transition from the top of the head to the forehead is amazing and three-dimensional. Yeah, I like it a lot too. Yeah, I feel like it has a very nice smoothness to it, nicer than the rest, I would say. But the one on the right, I like more in terms of the colors. But yeah, you saw how important for the middle one it was. This one, right? To lift the side. Let me see if I can get the same angle. To lift here. This area so that it's not too dark, so that you can actually get the feel of the structure of the face. That was really important, actually. If you rewind, you'll see it. You'll actually see the moment I lift it, and it's really key. Venia, hi, I'm a new subscriber. Thank you so much for being here. And everyone, if you can take a moment to drop a like on this video, I would greatly appreciate it. I need to figure out how to turn off the auto shut off because I just heard it going off again. But yeah, this is the process, you know. The way these kinds of models can help is just you see the planes more clearly. So you can see the pattern of light and shadow more clearly. Even now, if you look at my face, there's no real clear pattern because the light is pretty much from everywhere. So these models with a very dramatic light and shadow are a great way to tackle this specific problem, right? Maybe if I rotate a bit so you can see a bit more of this side is in the shadow, and once you become more familiar with the key shapes, so you understand that the bottom of the nose, like the actual bottom of the nose faces down, so usually you'll get shadow there. You get this shadow in the inside of the nostril sometimes, and a bit of a highlight on that you can see in the middle painting. Right next to the nostril, that's important. The eyes are in the eye socket, so there's a shadow here when light comes from above. You know, upper lip, lower lip, and then you learn how to brace almost for the watercolor technique necessary to paint these things, right? Because you will use different approaches if you have almost the entire face covered with shadow, small areas of it. For example, in a sense, this middle one could be considered the easiest. The reason is because there are clearer single shadows, right? Yes, there is a shadow here, but mostly, for the most part, it's very separate individual shadows. So you can see now this is one big shape, right, and a small one. So sometimes they take more work. Now, obviously, I'm using very small pieces of paper, and I put 3 of them on one. So that would amount to, if I had to guesstimate, it's about 4 inches, maybe 3 inches, something like that. 3 by, maybe, that's maybe 1, 2, 3. So 3 by 1, 2, 3. Something by 3 by 4, 3 by 5. That's the dimensions here for each of these, right? The piece of paper is A3 size. So working smaller will help a lot with that, just to get the flow right, get the technique right. Jacqueline, lifting out is so big part of watercolor painting. Yeah, and getting it in the right timing and drying the brush properly. I noticed that I had a lot of issues with this. You really need to dry it sometimes to lift the paint. Otherwise, it will either drip back more paint onto the paper or you do some weird things. You can also charge clean water. That will lighten things up as well, but it will also bleed into the areas you may not want to lighten. So point for thought. Adria, I love hot press paper. Haven't tried many cold press papers. Got the Paul Rubens hot press watercolor sketchbook and fell in love. That's cool. That's really cool. Most of the people I follow and kind of the art that I follow mostly lends itself mostly to cold press, so I'm the opposite. But I see a lot of illustrators and really high level artists work on soft, and it looks fantastic. So yeah. takes a bit more getting used to, more water, more flow in the beginning because it stays on the surface, and sometimes it can lead to weird drying. What's I keep forgetting her name. She's so good. Little Thunder, I think, on Instagram. Let me find, because does amazing illustrations. Yeah, Little Thunder. Amazing illustrations, and it's and it's on hot, like, this is so good. It's on hot press because you really need to use hot press for that, and it's watercolor. I've shared her before. Yeah, so something like this. This is so cool. I love her videos too. I don't know how she controls the technique so well, but it's quiet. Oh, that's nice. She did also a video. Look at this. Up. Oh, that's so cool. But anyway, yeah, that kind of style really lends itself well to. Ooh, here's. Okay, never mind. But in any case, this kind of style really lends itself well to hot press. So yeah, it really depends on the niche and kind of the subjects you have in mind. I think portraits actually work better on hot press, in my experience. Okay, let's see here. Jacqueline, dramatic lighting helps me paint the subject matter. Yes. People send me photos of their black dog with no lighting. Yeah, so you do commissions. That's a challenge. Yeah, sometimes you need to almost demand that people send you the right type of reference photo, and it's acceptable. Different types of reference photos lend themselves better to certain mediums. And with watercolor, I had this potential client that wanted. She has a beautiful store with antique stuff, and it's a really nice place here, a local store. And the scene wasn't that good for a watercolor. I asked her for a couple of photos, then I asked something a little different, but then I told her, it's not really the best match. So maybe do something in a different medium. Yeah. Black dog with no lighting would just be black paper. Yeah, you could kind of paint it the same way and show them, yeah, this is what you sent to me. Mortal, is traditional painting popular at Instagram? Can the AI be a potential enemy? I don't think so. I think, at the end of the day, some people have interest in art, some people don't. I think the AI art has brought in a lot of people that don't really just aren't as interested in art, which is fine. It's just not their thing. And at some point, all of these people are going to be washed out because they just lose interest. They'll move on to a different thing. And we'll be left with people who actually care about art. Again, not that you should. Some people, that's just not their area of interest or expertise. But we'll be left with the people who are actually interested in art. Those are the people that will learn to use AI to their advantage, whether it's generating ideas, generating different concepts, creating references that are perfect to paint from, having it study based on your style, and it can be a great tool. But I don't think at the end of the day it'll be a threat. I think there's something very utilitarian about it, so it's useful for a lot of things. But when it comes to, I think, really enjoying something, I don't know, the knowledge that a human made it makes it feel a little different. Now, at some point, it'll probably be able to mimic it 100%, and then it's going to be a different world, a bit of a different world. But still, the fact that AI can paint really well doesn't mean that your really good paintings will be less popular. That's what I think. I'm pretty unconcerned. But yeah. Gina, I'm still loving the Kansun XL. Probably I buy them by the 6-pack. Yeah, they're great. They're really great. They have a great price and good quality. Jacqueline, my daughter draws manga in colors with markers. I wonder if she would like hot press. Yes, she will. In fact, manga has a history with watercolors. A lot of manga artists that I really appreciate paint with watercolors when it comes to covers, colored pages. You know, it's a very popular way to paint. Now, markers are the standard right now. Digital is the standard, actually, but other than that, markers are pretty strong standard. And if I recall, it works pretty. It looks so funny. If I recall, markers work well on hot press. Yeah. Usually, it's used more on Bristol type paper. But yeah, it should work. It should work too. There's also manga paper. It works well on that. Adria, yes, I love that. The bright colors and smooth transitions. I enjoy working like that myself. That's why hot press is such a joy. She probably would. Jacqueline, it's a very smooth. Yes, you got it, Mortal. Jacqueline, I turned down a commission because the teeth and eyes were the only thing you could see. Photo. The dog had passed away, so they couldn't get more. Oh, that's sad. Yeah, that's sad. That's unfortunate. If that was the scenario, I'd probably just give it a try and see what I can do. And if it's not good, you know, worst case. Adria, I'm honestly nervous of sharing anything I make online because of the way AI art can steal other work. Yeah, you know, it's true. Probably, you know, my work is somewhere there in a model in some kind of a database. You know, at the end of the day, people are interested in people, so people are interested in me. So if there will be an AI that can kind of recreate my style, I don't know. I don't really care that much. People are still. It's not. I don't feel like it'll take away from me. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. We'll let the future unfold, I guess. Right. Bach, is the Levinson rigger you were using in your last live demo the white synthetic 3/4 or half bristle length? It sometimes takes a while to receive these brushes and would like to get the right one. Let me see. So you refer to this one here. So it's called the small brown synthetic. So do you refer the length when you say half? You mean half an inch, right? This looks like half an inch, not like 3/4. It's about a little more than a centimeter, right? So if you compare it even just to my nail, let's say, I think it's half. I believe it's half an inch, from the way it looks. If it's really, you know, if it's supposed to be measured from the base here, yes, probably half. I hope that helps. Yeah, half is, I think, better than 3/4 actually. In that, and you know, it depends on the use. Because longer rigger brushes, sometimes it's easier to do long straight lines with them. So I don't know. I think AI helps me for reference photos. Yeah, definitely. Same here. If I can't find what I'm looking for, yeah, you can just construct it. You know. OJR. You gotta fool the AI, paint a boat, label it as a cow, and your art will be forgotten by the AI. That's fine. To troll the AI, see what happens. Jacqueline, she draws and then takes a photo of it and digitalizes. Cool. Gina, thank you, sweetheart. Everyone talks bad about my paper and say buy Arsh. I paint too much to buy Arsh. Yeah, it makes sense. Much more expensive, right? I do more, Adria, I do more abstract things, so maybe AI would be confused by its nature. I can just label them funny names. Yeah. Jacqueline, I did try 3 paintings of it, but felt they all looked creepy. Okay, yeah. Luckily, the customer was also a painter, and she ended up painting it herself in acrylics. Yeah, good. Mr. Red, have you seen Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind? Yes, I have. The original manga is drawn in watercolors. It looks gorgeous. Yeah, that's really cool. I have watched the movie. Yeah, I thought it was great. It was a bit of a slow burn to me. Too much of a slow burn. At some point, I really wanted more out of it. It's so good, like the universe and the characters are so good. It left me wanting a bit more. I don't know. I'm not sure what, but it was really good. Yeah, I liked it a lot. Is it what's his name? Right, I forgot. Very famous one. Is it a Miyazaki? I think. Yeah, I started reading the manga too, and I liked it. But then I was like, okay, I want to see it in color and in a movie form. I preferred it in anime. But yeah, the old kind of watercolor style is great. I think a lot of Kishimoto's Naruto covers are watercolor. I want to say. I also started reading Blood on the Tracks, which is a very creepy manga, and the author is doing a lot of watercolor pages and covers. They look really good, and it really feels like someone who's, you can tell his main medium is not watercolor, but because of that, actually, it's like, as an outsider in a way, it has a very unique charm to it and high quality too. So yeah, you got it, Buck. Happy I can help. Hate, kill, destroy. Did you ever see the technique of pre-stretching paper? Soak the paper with water, removing the air bubbles with a sponge, and later using watercolor tape. Yeah, I tried it once or twice. Sometimes I just prefer, to pre-wet both sides, or spill water on it if it's a big size painting. But yeah, it looks like a useful technique, to get the flow, to have it not buckle too much. Though I don't mind the buckling as much. Let's see what the doggo tries to achieve. She needs the pillow sometimes to find the angle. So cute. Yeah, I would definitely use it at least for practice. I mean, yeah, definitely. So yeah, now seems like a good time. We can wrap it up. If you have any kind of final questions, feel free to ask away. It's been fun. We ended up doing 5 examples. I'll probably turn these at some point into a video on its own. Cut out the talking. I'm gonna post, I believe it's either Saturday, or I think it's Saturday's video. It could be next Tuesday, I'm not sure, but I think it's Saturday. I'm gonna post a video of people, realistic people, slow and steady, based on the live stream I did, but I'm gonna cut out all the fluff. It's gonna leave a process. It's a 2-hour live stream with 2 demonstrations. It's gonna be a 15 or 30-minute video, something like that, which is a little more digestible. Probably will do the same for these kinds of things. But thank you so much for being here. Jacqueline, I'm outside with my dogs right now. Thank you, May. Mai. I should say Mai. That's how you pronounce it in Hebrew. Thank you, Adria. Thank you, Nancy. Jacqueline, do you paint? Do you do a paint with? Yeah. Maybe you should do something like that, like to actually give the photo in advance to people. I mean, any of these could be used that way. But let me know what you have in mind. Maybe I'll do that in the future. Adria, fun as always. Hope you have a great one, Liron. Thank you so much. Saint Anki, Margareta Morales reminds me of a little thunder work worth looking up on YouTube. Oh, I don't think I'm familiar with. I will search now and look. Oh yeah, that's cool. Little Thunder. So I will say Margaret's style reminds me of a lot of other people. Whereas Little Thunder is, I feel like, more unique in its own category. Some of the work that I see, at least on a quick search. I did see so far quite a lot of people who have a similar style, not 100%. I'm sure he's unique in many ways, but just on a first kind of first glance, I've never seen anyone paint like Little Thunder, but maybe there are, and I'm unfamiliar. But how will I do a follow along? So like people paint with me, and they can share their video. Like what do you mean by that? Because you can just follow along what I'm doing here. So I'm curious. Let me know. Also, it's not about the snub factor when it comes to paper. Cellulose and cotton are 2 different worlds. I found that cotton is so much more predictable and less frustrating. But you can learn to work with cellulose as well. Thank you, Janine. Thank you, everyone. Gina, Jacqueline. Ada, do you paint animals? Barely. I should probably paint more animals. Besanayan, hello. How are you doing? Alberto, thank you. Have a nice day. I really enjoy this in vivo. Thank you so much. How to use twist technique? I don't know what it is. Twist technique. I'm not sure. An artist I'm familiar with. Thank you, John. Oh, this technique with animals. Yeah, you could find a 3D model of animals, same way you would, and watch the polygons. At the end of the day, even if the animal is covered in fur, what's more important is the overall light and shadow, and the edge of the shadow is where you'll show the pattern of the fur. So for example, here you'll show like a pattern, right? But the shape of the shadow stays pretty much consistent. You know, it's more about the science of light and shadow. So you could use this for anything really. But the key is to find a good model to work with, like I did here, you know, just generally speaking. And you can take it in any direction you want. Essie, this is so great. You've got a new subscriber. Thank you so much. I have ChatGPT to thank for. So thank you so much. I'm very happy you discovered my content. And yeah, we'll wrap it up. Thank you everyone who's here again. Much, much appreciated. We'll see you on Saturday's video, Tuesday's video, next week's live stream. I have enough content set up for the next couple of week and a half, let's say. Until then, take care and keep painting and enjoying yourself. We'll talk to you again soon.